A key part of the spiritual awakening that we undergo in today's day and age is to know that we are not affected or influenced by outer forces the way we think that we are. We are not dependent on the outer influences so much. Of course, when we are unawakened and we are struggling in the journey, we get very, pushed aside, and we struggle a lot with the outer people. Someone may give us a certain script that we are meant to follow about our lives. It can be our parents that tell you to be this way or that way for you to become acceptable or worthy. It can be siblings that give you maybe constraints for what you can and cannot do in your life, right? It can be people who may have abused you to again stop you from occupying space, from being who you are, from speaking your truth. It can be institutions like schools that work on a very, most of them, at least in the past, have worked on a very warped method of controlling or of looking at children to be inferior to, say, teachers or others, and again thwarting the natural drive of the student, the natural drive of the child, and channeling it only into the areas that are of a certain acceptance, the acceptance code of the school or the moral values of the school teachers, etc. So we go through all of this, and then after that, the college, again, it just becomes about the group think, what others are thinking, you want to fit in, and again, you lose your authenticity. And it's not any different in your jobs as well. The whole notion of you have to be professional, you have to be this way or you have to be that way. And most of the times in your normal 9 to 5 types of jobs, you can find that the room for creativity is next to nil. It's only a very odd person who finds a job that they absolutely love. Even if you start working in the sector of your interest, the work that has come to you from the top is hardly ever going to explore your creativity or your potential, but is probably going to make you act like a cog in the wheel, right? And will not be interested in what you really, really want to do or what you have to offer. Very few organizations allow that. So we keep sacrificing, we keep compromising, we keep adjusting, our morals keep changing. We tell ourselves that we are not allowed to be who we are. We give ourselves these stories, and then if you are from other traditional, backgrounds, then you will also be forced to get married by a certain age. The age pressure will come in, and then in the marriage, especially in the traditional setups, then it's, if you're a woman, it's, everything is already sort of stacked against you. You don't have much room. You have to be a proper daughter-in-law, you have to be a proper wife, and then you have to be a proper mother. You are being watched, you are being, told how to be, and as if everything that you're doing is wrong. In many conventional systems, this is the case. The whole world has been extremely misogynistic for so long. And if not that, then you can also get trapped in the illusion of love. Even if you don't get married, it can be that chasing partner after partner that are just basically mirrors of, the dynamics that you've had with your parents. But we don't realize it because we're not that aware of why these partners keep having the same pattern. Why do I keep going through the same things over and over? What do I even really need? So when you start to spiritually awaken, you meet your twin flame. Say the awakening started through your twin flame, and the twin flame awakening is very intense, and it brings everything to be seen finally. Now suddenly you start saying, oh my God, maybe wherever have been your hardest lessons, if it is relationships, then suddenly those relationships you're going to look at. If it has been your career, your job, then suddenly you're going to look at, why am I pushing myself so hard? Is everything just about survival? Have I just come here to survive? And look at the systems of the world, how much they have made everything about survival, how expensive sometimes things get. Even in countries like India, yes, but you can still survive in India with less, because of the wide range of things you can still have access to, even though the life may be harder. But still, in so many countries, they've made it so expensive for you to have basic health care, basic access to education, which is decent, a healthy food is expensive. So all that stuff, so that you keep being in survival mode, that you have to keep believing that to earn, to basically have the most basic things in my life, to maintain the most basic lifestyle, I have to work so supremely hard. To have any kind of a help, to have any kind of an assistance, I have to pay so much money that I now have to make that much money, and for that I have to torture myself. Doesn't it sound like a horrible scheme? I mean, really just think about it. Is this what human life really is about? Isn't it like, don't you just sense that all of these forces, whether we call it the matrix or something, they definitely must be held in place by some very dark energies in place, that want you to believe that you are somehow falling short over and over, that you are not enough, that you are, doing something wrong, that somehow the whole world is behaving in a certain manner. Everyone is turning against. You are the odd one out who is spiritually awakening, who doesn't want to live in the conventional way that others are living in, and you are the person that they frown upon, that they look down upon, that they wonder what is wrong with her or what is wrong with him. Why has this person started to become like that? Why are they not chasing these things that we are chasing? Why does this person not want to move to this country or make that much money, or have that type of a marriage and have children, or have this experience, or have that kind of a job? Why is this person not struggling and working harder and improving themselves more and more to become more and more capable of better and better things in the physical world? So you would be singled out. You would be singled out because you are seen to be the odd one, but really what is actually happening is you are the only awakened one. This is not to stroke your ego, of course. This is just to make you realize that even if things work terribly against you, the whole system has worked in such a way that it makes you doubt yourself. It will not make you question that the other is wrong. Especially, say, if you've had a narcissistic upbringing. Say your parents were narcissistic or are still, your mother or your father, and your sibling was abusive and you were the scapegoated child and you went through a lot of stuff, or you had some other horrific abuse that you went through. You never know that it is them that are the problem. It's much later in your life when you awaken and then you realize, oh my God, I was never wrong. I didn't have to apologize for taking up space. I didn't have to give so many justifications for my existence. I didn't have to prove myself over and over. Right from when I started kindergarten, I've been trying to prove myself to be worthy and just to belong, just to have that basic love from my family, which they made so conditional upon me meeting some criteria. They will never love me the way I am because they can't. Now, you may call it that there is generational trauma and all of that, the history of narcissism, how it is inherited, how it is a trauma response, etc., etc. But it's the system which is in place, which is not going to necessarily change, right? I mean, yes, the earth is awakening. Yes, many systems will collapse, many things will happen, but the behaviors, the patterns, you don't have to seek approval from others. You don't have to make them happy. You don't have to meet the criteria of society. In the live that I did some time ago, some people, had these questions like, I'm in my 30s or I'm in my late 20s or I'm in my some other age and, I want to get married. There's so much this pressure from the society that I have to meet. Why do you have to meet that pressure? For whom? Your parents or your family, they may think that this is your happiness, that you stay unawakened and you still believe that some other external partner is going to be your savior, And I'm not saying the twin flame is your savior or anything, far from it. It's just that you are the savior that you're seeking. You have to learn to follow the voice of your heart than the voice of external egos that only want to trample upon your innate drive. They are not interested in you becoming fearless. Then how will they capitalize on your pain? It's very simple. The old structures, when you start awakening, the people in your life, they want you to play that role that you've always played. The nice girl, the girl who is people pleasing, the one who is so obedient, the one who is always trying to please others, at the cost of herself, the girl who apologizes for existing, the girl who wants to do everything just to make sure everyone else is comfortable. The one who doesn't know that she's powerful. There's almost been a siphoning off of your life force, especially coming from narcissistic systems of family. They base themselves on your life force because they need someone to blame all their discomfort and all their pain. They want to project it onto someone, and you've been the perfect screen for that projection. And now that you're waking up, you're still thinking belonging might come to me from there. It will not. Approval might come to me from there. No. And schools play such a huge role. What do schools even do? They give you this whole system of, how everyone else is, and how if you are different that you are falling short. Bullying is so common in schools, judgment is so common. If you are a little different, you are bullied, you're harassed, and everything becomes okay because a group of people are doing it. So, like the more number of people do it, so then it must be okay. You are the only one who feels weird, who feels strange. So, when you start waking up, you take your power back from everything. Don't place anybody on a pedestal. Don't look up to anybody. Don't take approval from anyone. Let the whole world turn against you if it has to. Your own world, as in like the people around you, let them disapprove of you. It's going to be very embarrassing. It's going to bring up a lot of shame that is buried, right? But the energy of the goddesses are always like that, and you are the divine feminine energy. They are not supposed to be in the mainstream. They are a little bit on the margins. In India, we worship a lot of goddesses in so many different forms. And all of these forms are very intense forms, some of them extremely intense. And they're not mainstream. Like mainstream people will not go to such a goddess that is going to be willing to chop your head off, which is symbolic of, chopping your ego off. Right? People want to go to a deity or, that representation of the divine that will give them more money, will bring them, the worldly stuff more and more. But those who spiritually awaken, they don't seek this. And the concept of deities is also, it's very unique and it's very beautifully different because it's about you are divine. There is no one God. It's basically that these energy forms were created by sages and they work as, energetic yantras, like energetic sacred geometry that can help you to attain certain goals. And when you come on this journey, you get very influenced. Your guides also are carrying similar energies to these types of deities, whether it's the deities from the Hindu understanding, the Greek understanding, or the Egyptian understanding, right? Or any other. So they're extremely powerful. They carry these archetypes of energies that are not in the mainstream. So never fret that you're not fitting into the mainstream. Never fret that you're not like others. Never fret that your family doesn't like you or they have turned against you, because they don't want you to change. They want you to be the one who is the absorber of the pain and the negativity that they are not willing to face themselves. What will people say is another thing that goes on in many conventional, societies. You have nothing to prove in this world, really. There is no endless survival needs that you have to keep chasing. Something must be very deeply wrong and very deeply incorrect in the probable way in which you are experiencing life right now if you are in a survival mode, especially after coming on the twin flame journey, because the journey is not about placing your awakened energy into survival. It's a waste of energy if you put it into, I'm just surviving, I'm just doing this to survive. I know this can be very triggering, and I know the realities of different people are very different in different countries, with the costs of living, with different cultural, social expectations. But this is just, if your heart is calling you to look at life in a different manner, to not chase and make survival so complex for yourself, then have the courage to do that. You don't have to be in the rat race. You don't have to win the war or of competition with other people. You don't have to be, better than others. You don't have to one up other people at all in your life, in your journey. this is the secret, that you are whole and complete the way you are. And this is what it is. Society is not going to celebrate your independence at all. So this is a message that, the energy I was feeling today repeatedly, that how much of, and I was looking at it within myself, like how much of my teenage years, my early life was all about apologizing for existing. And that's not what this was. There was absolutely nothing wrong at all with the way we are. It's the systems, the unconsciousness, the forces that don't want you to celebrate who you are, that don't want you to be who you are, that attack your uniqueness, that make you feel wrong in the way you are. They give you this toxic shame about just who you are. And there was a lot of grief that I remembered, that, oh my God, this is not what it was. And just right now, I came across this small piece of news of some school where they released a video of a young girl. She's 9 years old and she's being bullied in a classroom. And she repeatedly this is happening in a part of India. And she's in a very reputed school. And, she's being bullied very openly. And this bullying has been going on for very long. So she complains to the teacher 5-6 times. And the teacher in turn scolds her, and all the children and the teacher, they turn against her. She's just 9 years old in like 4th standard. And she goes and she jumps off the building. So then for an hour, they can't recognize who the girl is. They go around, the teacher is lying to the teeth about that no child is missing, etc. They leave her at the hospital and then they all run away. And the police is not really doing anything. They think it's the girl's responsibility that she did this, not holding the teacher accountable. So the parents are running with a lot of helplessness. It's almost an 8-9-month-old news. But today apparently the video, the footage, from the school classroom sort of got released and everything. And I don't know why I watched it. Normally I don't follow the news at all. And it just hit me as to, how of course sad and horrible it was, but also how the systems make you feel that you are wrong, and the helplessness that comes with it. The helplessness of that I am being excluded, that I am not belonging to anything and anybody. And this can be such a deep wound that most of us carry from our childhoods as well, that to belong, to be included by others, we had to change ourselves. We had to be the version that they would find palatable, right? Now suddenly you become spiritual. If you start meditating, you become this way, or you start, going here or doing this and doing that, then they find you absolutely stupid. I remember many years ago when I was in the thick of my awakening, and I would hear people say, oh, you of all people, you are becoming spiritual, you are going to those places, you are becoming like that. What happened to your intelligence? So then they'd make you think that you're foolish if you're spiritual, because it somehow doesn't correlate with their version of what is intelligent. Intelligence is very, very broad, it is very, very wide, and it is, it is of a different nature altogether. It is to be curious about everything. It's to follow your heart. But in the name of intelligence, they will make your spiritual truth look small. So this is also a form of a manipulation, where they will tell you that this is not intelligent. And if you are very attached to the identity of being intelligent, then you are going to be deeply questioned, right? So many, even within the spiritual communities, can question as to why someone, say for instance, is teaching, is speaking about spiritual things, or is doing this kind of a work in their lives, or is into this full time. They should still maintain their other forms of identity, right? So many people may not want to fully leave the matrix and still benefit from the matrix, and look down upon those who are not benefiting from the matrix anymore. This can also happen to us. So your full awakening is what is being called forward in whatever you do, in however you are. It's not important to have the group think. And this is just what I felt like sharing today. And yeah, feel free to share as to if you have walked out of the matrix like this, if you have released these expectations of your family, of society, etc., and have started to feel more like yourself, it's extremely freeing when you know that you are self-validated. You just have to follow your heart. You don't have to listen to outer voices or even inner critical voices when it comes to living your life. Your life is not alone from other people. They are not even the parents, the parents, they don't create you. Your soul is infinite. Many egotistical parents can believe that they own the child or they own the person. That's not true at all. You're not owned by anybody. You're not obligated to anybody. And that takes so much courage to know that your existence here is not not a favor that somebody is doing to you, whether it's a parent or a partner or the society. You don't have to. You won't be witch hunted. We are not in the older days now. You can exist freely. Today, the world supports your existence and your independence, your wackiness, your weirdness. It is supported. So have the courage to be your true self. Many of you will be pioneers here because this is still not the mainstream. And eventually you will notice that you will start inspiring others also to walk their own truths. So if you wish to listen to me on Patreon, videos go very deep. I speak a lot about twin flames at my on my Patreon page. That is the second link in the description. The first link is the sessions that I offer. If you're interested, you can see the first link. I'm sending you so much love.